At number 5, I have Pascal Siakam, and Pascal these past 2 years has taken tremendous strides in being a great player, and this season he's taken over the number 1 option on the Toronto Raptors, as Kawhi Leonard left in the offseason, everyone knows. But I mean, he's averaging 26 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. And those are all up from last year, and they're all career highs. And Pascal last year, he did win Most Improved Player, and honestly, I'm questioning, could he win Most Improved back-to-back? That's never been done. I don't know if you really can do it, because you're always looking to give the award out to new players. But I mean, Pascal, he makes a great place for winning the Most Improved back-to-back. And I mean, this top 5 MVP spot is definitely deserved. He's leading the Raptors to a 13-4 record, second in the East, with Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka both missing 9 games. So I mean, what Pascal is doing is definitely unprecedented. And just looking back 2 years ago, he was averaging around 7 points per game, getting 20 minutes for the Raptors, and he only started 5 games. So Pascal's development, his overall maturity, that is unprecedented, and you really don't see this often. But I mean, Pascal just came out of nowhere and he just taken that number 1 spot, and he really has turned into a top 15 player in the NBA. I know it still was a long season to go, but Pascal definitely looks like the man of the future for Toronto, and he definitely is a top 5 MVP candidate right now. At number 4, I do have James Harden, and Harden is averaging about 37 points per game right now, and if he keeps that pace up, that'll be the most points per game since Wilt Chamberlain. So Harden is definitely having a great statistical season, and that it really is harder than we expected. I didn't really expect him to keep up the pace from last year and have a points per game increase, but I mean, Harden is a great player for the regular season. The jury still is out on him for the playoffs, but I mean, so far he definitely has been a top 5 MVP candidate, but I do have him a little lower because of voter fatigue and just things like his play style. People don't really enjoy it, and just watching him dribble 14 times for ISO and stuff like that, it's not really an exciting play style. I mean, it does lead to regular season wins, but in the playoffs we're waiting to see Harden kind of have his signature moment and take the next step. He has had some good games, but the past few years his legacy has really been defined by not beating the Warriors in one crucial game. Last year when KD went out, I thought they should have beaten the Warriors, and I think that should be held against Harden. And him winning MVP this year, I don't see it happening. I will have him top 4 just because it's James Harden, and he always is great in the regular season. But I mean, I don't really see Harden ever winning another MVP unless he averages like 40 points a game or something ridiculous. I mean, maybe he could do that this year, but I really don't see Harden doing that. And I mean, some people might think it's disrespectful having Harden outside the top 3. Well, he's averaging about 38 points per game. We've seen players like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan average 35 points per game plus, and they've never won the MVP. So I don't think points per game alone translate. I know Harden is leading to a 12-6 record right now, which is around 4th in the West, but that could slide up and down. It's still very early. So don't take James Harden's 4th place as kind of disrespect. I'm just putting him there kind of as a placeholder, because Harden, you never know if he goes off or he kind of regresses. There's still 60-plus games left in the season, so we'll see where Harden ends up overall, but right now I have him as the 4th in MVP race. At number 3, I have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and some of you might be asking why I have these two guys grouped together. That's because they're on the same team, and I think they're equally responsible for the Lakers being 16-2. They also have had a kind of a cupcake schedule, but I mean, I'm not going to take away that credit. They are 16-2. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to. The 2 teams they did lose to are both playoff teams, but it is kind of telling. But I'm not going to take full credit away from their 16-2 record. And just looking at the overall resumes, Anthony Davis right now is leading the Lakers in points per game, rebounds, steals, blocks, and PER. LeBron James is averaging 11 assists right now, which is career high, as he kind of has been more of a point forward. I wouldn't call him a point guard, but he still has been a point forward bringing the ball up. He's not guarding the other team's point guard, which isn't necessarily required, but I wouldn't call him a fully fledged point guard. He's still averaging LeBron James numbers, 25, 11, and 7, and he's just doing normal LeBron things. But right now, I think Anthony Davis is definitely neck and neck with him, and kind of vying for that spot of being the best player in the Lakers. I know LeBron James kind of has taken a step back scoring-wise, and they kind of are pretty even. But right now, I think LeBron and Anthony Davis, they're equally responsible for the team's success. Anthony Davis obviously being better on the defensive end, and LeBron James much improved from last year. That's probably because of effort and team motivation. But Anthony Davis, I think he's definitely a top 5 MVP candidate and a top 5 defensive player MVP candidate. I think that really does deserve some recognition. That's why I have LeBron James, Anthony Davis at the number 3 spot. At number 2, I do have my boy Luka Doncic, and Luka has been absolutely amazing this season, averaging 30 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 9.5 assists. That's really unprecedented for a second-year player, and just throwing up his numbers, look at LeBron James and Michael Jordan in their second years. Luka is obviously better than them, averaging more points, rebounds, and assists, and he is the best 20-year-old basketball player the NBA has ever seen. That's not hyperbolic, that's absolute fact. You cannot find another 20-year-old who's doing what Luka is doing right now this season. Obviously, some people would say he's not a well-developed defensive player, and I would agree with that, but his offensive game is so well-rounded and so ahead of his time. It's just absolutely ridiculous to watch him on the court. basically gets whatever he wants whenever he wants, and he can just score, rebound, and pass with the best of them. And he's like a Larry Bird kind of combo with James Harden. He does have a great step back, and just watching his game, it's so smooth, so efficient, and he's getting his three-point percentage numbers up, also his field goal percentage, and he really is having a great season, making a good case for most improved player. And the Mavericks are having a winning record this year, which kind of is surprising. Kristaps Porzingis is an addition to the team, but I mean, he hasn't really shown to be Kristaps Porzingis of old in New York, and he really kind of has struggled a lot of games. So Luka is definitely carrying this Mavs team to what looks like to be a top 4 record in the Western Conference. So I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous. And just going from last season to this season, Luka's growth, averaging 9 more points per game, 3 more assists, and 2 more rebounds. I mean, what more can you ask from this guy? He's playing winning basketball, and he's putting up great numbers. That's obviously what you look for in an MVP candidate. And if you just wanted to compare him to LeBron real quick, because I know LeBron fans will get mad that Luka's ahead of him in the MVP race, just look at the numbers, look at the stats, and you tell me who's higher in the MVP race. I do know the Lakers have a better record, but Luka's not playing with a second star like LeBron James, and even Anthony Davis, look at their numbers compared. Luka definitely has the edge over those two players, and he's playing winning basketball, which no one really expected from this Mavericks team. At number 1, I do have the reigning MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's averaging 31 points per game, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists this season. I mean, Giannis is taking his game to the next level. He still needs to develop a reliable jump shot or some reliable post moves, but in Giannis, he's definitely filling up the stat sheet, being a huge impact player. Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, they've kind of missed a couple of games. They've been kind of nicked up, injured, and Giannis is definitely carrying this Bucks team. They are first in the East right now, and they've won 8 games in a row. So Giannis is definitely being a dominant presence. I call him the modern-day Shaq, not because him and Shaq play alike, just because both of them are so dominant in the paint, and they just demand the full attention of the defense. And Giannis' three-point percentage is still around 30%, but he's increased his attempts to around 5 per game, which is a really good sign for Bucks fans. And he has the usual efficiency from the field, shooting around 56%. And Giannis in the regular season, he's definitely built for it. I mean, he can find the lane, get in the lane, spin moves, up and unders. He does all these great post moves and just getting the lane, getting around people. Giannis is definitely the player you want for the future, along with Luka. And I think those two players will kind of run the league in the 2020s. I don't know if Giannis stays in Milwaukee all of his career. If Bucks fans are lucky enough to have him around, I do see Milwaukee probably winning 1 championship just because Giannis is so purely dominant and just getting shooters around him. That's the only real question I have. Will Chris Middleton be reliable in the playoffs? Will Eric Bledsoe actually show up in the playoffs? Those are still some huge questions. But right now, the MVP race, I think it's Giannis to lose. Basketball Reference, NBA.com, they all have Giannis securely at number 1. I think that is rightfully so. He's averaging career highs in points, rebounds, and assists. I mean, as I said, he's just taking it to the next level, and he's showing you what a prime Giannis could look like. He's only 25 years old, so has he even hit his prime? That's very scary to think about. We're 18 games in the season, and Giannis is absolutely dominating, carrying over from last year. I don't see him slowing down. I actually do think Giannis will end up winning MVP, and I have him at number 1 right now, 18 games into the season. So that is my top 5 in the MVP race right now. I've seen a lot of major outlets kind of release their top 5. I've seen a lot of people on social media kind of giving their takes on the MVP race. I wanted to give you guys my takes. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what MVP kind of entails. To put up great numbers and a great team, I think the players I listed are all doing that. We still have roughly 60 games left in the season, so everything could change about this list. But I mean, right now I think Giannis is definitely the MVP, followed by some order of LeBron, AD, Luka, and Harden. I think all those players are kind of solidified. Pascal is kind of on the outside. He's kind of my oddball dark horse candidate, but I think he definitely deserves some mention. But he has had a great season so far. But I mean, this kind of is self-explanatory top 5. But if you do have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I feel like I explained myself pretty good in the video, but if you need any further explanation, I'll be happy to provide that. So thanks for watching the video. These are my top 5 MVP candidates of 2019-2020. So far, we do have 60 games left, but these are my top 5. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time.